At first, you said yes, and you meant it. It came from love, from care, from wanting to be there, and wanting to help. It was a choice, but over time, for many women, that yes slowly became who everyone expected them to be. If you're watching this, you are likely the one others count on. You're capable, dependable, and loving. You show up for your family, your work, and your responsibilities, and you take it seriously. But underneath that strength, there is a quiet fatigue that has been growing. You might feel like you're swimming without getting anywhere, where every attempt to reach the shore is met by another wave pulling you back. If we haven't met before, I'm Dr. Kara. I was a registered nurse and I hold a doctorate in natural health, and I've spent the last 3 decades consulting in holistic health and energy work. My mission is to help high-achieving women return to themselves, reconnect with their body's wisdom, and stop living in survival mode like I did for so many years. Today we're going to talk about the hidden pattern of burnout in high-achieving women. It does not begin in weakness. It does not begin in confusion. It typically begins in goodness, but somewhere along the way, saying yes stops feeling like a true choice. And saying no does not just feel uncomfortable, it feels really unsettling inside. It stirs up guilt and tension and the fear that if you stop carrying it all, you will feel less loved, less accepted, or less needed. We're going to look at how to stop sacrificing yourself by saying yes when your body is screaming and begging for you to say no. And if you find yourself resonating with this conversation, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. I share videos like this to help you build a container of stillness inside yourself so you can return to a regulated energy field and a regulated nervous system no matter what is happening externally. For most of my life, I tied my worth to work, to doing, and to showing up for other people. I became a people pleaser early on. I wanted to be a good girl. I wanted the people around me to be happy, and I wanted to make things easier for everyone else. And I wanted to avoid disappointing anyone. I was taught early on that being useful matters. Sitting still does not feel natural to many of us. Even reading a book or taking a moment to rest can really feel like a guilty pleasure. We learn that play, rest, and joy are things that you are allowed to have only after the work is done. But the truth is, for a woman, for a mother, for an entrepreneur, the work is never really done. And that belief shapes us in powerful ways. It gives us discipline and an incredible work ethic. But it also quietly teaches us that our value lives in doing, in carrying, in making life easier for everyone around us. We learn that being loving means being available, that being good means being accommodating, that being needed means being valued. And there's a deep truth about high-achieving women. We have drive, and drive is a good thing. But there are 2 different places that drive can come from. And for many of us, our drive comes from the mental mind, comes from conditioning, from trying to prove our worth, from the pressure to achieve, and from trying to keep everyone else comfortable. That mind-driven effort is exhausting. But when we drop down into our heart, we can apply that exact same drive to something that is soul-driven, a drive that ignites our purpose and our true means of service on the planet. This is a very hard distinction to make, especially when we're younger. For me, it was incredibly hard to distinguish at 20 years old. We are so heavily conditioned to think about what we want to be when we grow up rather than who wants to emerge from within us as we grow and evolve. We get so caught up in the doing that we lose connection to the becoming. And because we are capable, this mind-driven pattern can hide in plain sight for a really long time. You look fine on the outside. People praise you for how much you can handle. But inside, your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight. Your body is carrying the strain of 1,000 unsaid no's. When we talk about burnout, we usually talk about stress. We talk about needing a vacation or needing to manage our time better. But what we really experiencing is not just a stress problem. It is a nervous system problem. It is an energetic depletion problem. It is a lifelong pattern of overriding your body's wisdom. When you say yes, but your body is screaming for no, what happens? Your body tightens, resentment builds, inflammation. You're going from obligation instead of truth. And that tension you feel in your chest or your stomach when someone asks for a favor and you know you do not have the capacity to give, that is your body speaking to you. But because we fear conflict, or because we fear that the relationship might shift if we set a boundary, because we feel guilt, we override that physical signal. We say yes anyway. This is self-abandonment. We abandon our own truth, our own capacity, and our own emotional safety to keep someone else comfortable. Over time, that pattern turns into deep exhaustion and disconnection. Your nervous system does not know how to exhale because it has been trained to believe that safety comes through productivity and pleasing others. You stop telling yourself, if I could just get more sleep, I'd be better. It is not just sleep you are missing. It is stillness. It is the safety to simply exist without having to produce or perform. And this is why the advice to just set better boundaries often misses the deeper issue. Setting a boundary requires you to tolerate the discomfort of someone else's disappointment. If your nervous system is wired to believe that someone else's disappointment means you are unsafe or unlovable or bad, then setting a boundary will feel like a major threat to your survival. This is about more than boundaries. It's about self-trust and worth. It's about your emotional safety and learning how to stand in your truth without abandoning yourself in the process. Healing this does not begin by trying harder or forcing yourself to aggressively say no to everyone. It begins by noticing. It starts by just observing where your yes is no longer honest and where your body tightens and where you're giving from obligation. Awareness is where healing begins. You have to relearn how to listen to your body. You have to relearn the meaning of rest, joy, laughter, presence, and enough. You are not fragile. You are stabilizing. And stabilization requires a container of stillness. It requires you to stop fighting the current and start feeling solid in your own body again. If this message is speaking to you today and you haven't already, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. It helps me continue to bring these conversations to women who are quietly carrying too much and need a space to recalibrate. I know what it is like to carry too much for too long. I know what it is like to confuse productivity with safety. And I know what it means to be strong and silently unwell. And I also know that healing is possible. I know what it is to return to the wisdom of the body and to soften without becoming weak. I know what it is to choose life again. And no woman should have to abandon herself in order to feel worthy. or have to wait until her body is breaking down to finally give herself permission to live differently. Strength is not the same thing as self-abandonment. Devotion is not meant to require the erosion of your body, your joy, or your presence. Change becomes less about willpower and more about alignment. When you clear the accumulated emotional noise and confusion and stabilize your nervous system, you stop absorbing the chaos around you. You become the calm in the room. And this is what happens when you put your life vest on first. I think this is something so many women are quietly carrying and not speaking about, because they learned that being loving meant being available to everyone. And that is a hard pattern to unwind, but it can be unwound. So I'm curious, where in your life are you still sacrificing yourself by saying yes when you really want to say no? If this speaks to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What stage are you in of this type of pattern? Are you in the awareness phase, or are you deep in the exhaustion phase? Let me know below. And if you are ready to begin this process of stabilization, I have a free 10-minute guided meditation that will help you interrupt the noise and reconnect with your body to find that container of stillness. You can find that link in the description below. And for those of you who are ready to go deeper, to do this work consistently and to stop fighting the current, I invite you to check out our community, the Radiant Evolution Collective. It is a live stabilizing field designed for clarity, calm, and courage for women who feel like they're losing their edge. That link is also below. So thanks for being here, and remember, you are not losing your edge. You are restabilizing, and I'll see you in the next video.